We're Johannes and Allison. We've flown from Alberta, Canada to Australia with the goal of driving across the country in just under 40 days. We've bought a budget Toyota Prado for the task and so far have made it from Sydney up to Fraser Island. We've enjoyed our time on the island and now it's time to move along. Perth is the end destination for us and we still have a heck of a long way to go, so come along and join us for the adventure. It's time to make our way off of Fraser Island and back onto the mainland to start heading back south towards Sydney and eventually west towards Perth. In reality, at this stage in the trip, we haven't even started driving towards Perth. In fact, we've only gotten farther away. We still have over 6,500 kilometers ahead of us and some of the most remote terrain in Australia to cover. And our time is starting to dwindle. Vacation mode is officially over and we're starting to feel some of the pressure to get to Perth on time and on budget. Having problems is not in our schedule.
We have a problem. I noticed this morning when we woke up at camp that our coolant was a little bit low and it looked like there was some leak stopper material in the coolant. If you've ever seen like a leak stop, it's like this glistening sort of metallic-y stuff, like this gold color where if you have like a leaky radiator or a coolant leak somewhere, somebody will dump a bottle of that leak stop down in there in hopes of plugging up that hole. Doesn't always work, it's not the best quality stuff, but it looks like we got some of that floating around in our coolant, which I didn't notice over the past few days. And like I said, our coolant levels were a little bit low. So my brain went to worst case scenario, which is blown head gasket. And that would suck a lot. So we went to this local auto parts store here in this town. I don't even know the town that we're in, to be honest, but we got this combustion gas tester. And what this does is you stick it on your radiator and you pump it up here, and it has this special fluid in it that will detect CO2 gases in this special liquid here. So if you do have a blown head gasket, it will detect the exhaust gases in your coolant, and it'll basically tell you whether or not your head gasket is good or not. So I'm very nervous right now because if we have a blown head gasket, I'm not sure what our next move is going to be, and we'll have to figure something out. So let's do this test and go from there. This fluid changes colors to green, from blue to green. We got a big problem. So let's do the test. Now I'm gonna go start the engine, let it run, pump this up. So our test came back negative. Our fluid is still blue, so no indication at this point of a blown head gasket. But what we're going to do is a little experiment, and we're going to expose it to exhaust gas to see if this will change color, to see if it actually works. Let's do that. Look at that, it's changing color. Okay. So this is what happens. You can see that color change when that liquid is exposed to exhaust gas. So if our head gasket was blown and there was exhaust leaching into our coolant, it would have changed to this yellowy green color. So I think we're okay. I'm happy with that test.
It's good to know that a test like this is not a definitive 100% guarantee that the head gasket is good. For that, you'd need to do a complete leak down test, but for us, it's a good enough indicator that nothing major is happening in our engine at this time. We decide to top up the coolant and keep an eye on it over the next few hundred kilometers. After somewhat of a stressful day, we enjoy a warm, quiet evening beside a crackling fire. Tomorrow will be another big day as we navigate our way into the heart of Sydney, one of Australia's largest and most densely populated metro centres. It may be a bit of a shock to our system as we have seen and interacted with very few people over the past week and a half.
It's an exciting day today. We are entering Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. We're going to stay for a night here in Sydney, go check out some of the touristy things, the Opera House, the water, the harbour. We drove through Sydney on the way up to Fraser Island. We just drove through though, didn't really stop and look around at all. We were trying to get up to Fraser and back, and now we've done that. We are finished our Fraser Island trip. It was fantastic. It is so beautiful up there. If you ever have the chance to get up to Fraser/Gari Island, would highly recommend it. It's just a wonderful place. And we're just starting to get into some of this Sydney traffic here, and it really is starting to feel like the hustle and bustle of the city. It is a huge city. I think it's over 5 million people, something like 5.3 million people or something like that. Do you remember? Which is just mind-boggling because we come from Calgary where we're about 1.8 million. We're going to try not to get lost, but we'll probably get lost somewhere along the way. We're already starting to feel the heavy traffic and kind of the stress of the city, right? So we're going to go see what we can find here. So we made it to the Sydney Opera House. This place is absolutely crazy. It's huge. We had to battle some wicked traffic today coming into Sydney. We got lost like 5 times, went back and forth across the harbor, under the harbor, over the harbor, along the bridge. We couldn't find parking. We ended up having to park out of town and then take the train into town. We're staying at a hotel here in Sydney, downtown Sydney, so that'll be a lot of fun tonight. But we just wanted to come down and take a look at the world famous Opera House. Man, so cool to be standing right here. It was started construction in 1959 and they didn't finish until 1973. Now the original budget for the Opera House was supposedly $7 million, but it ended up costing them $102 million, which back in 1973 is a ton of money. So the Sydney Opera House is a UNESCO World Heritage Site because of its influence in culture. This place is just incredible.
Experiencing the vibrant hustle and bustle of Sydney's heart was a dream come true for us. While I'm not typically drawn to touristy areas, Sydney felt different. Its rich history, lively music, and humanity made us fall in love with Australia's iconic city. After a night in Sydney, we're back on the road south with a few more scheduled stops before reaching the Great Ocean Road.
Right now we're back on the road and we are about to enter Canberra, which is in the Australian Capital Territory, ACT. And this is, as far as I am aware, this is the capital of Australia. So there's a few Capitol buildings here that I think we're going to go try to drive around, see what some of these big official buildings look like, just kind of see what the capital of Australia is like. So after that, we're just going to take a quick drive through because we don't have much time before it gets dark and we need to find a camp spot. So we're going to see some interesting buildings here, a little bit of history maybe, and then it'll be off to camp for the night.
ACT. The streets are tidy, the neighborhoods are clean cut and well kept. Everyone seems to have somewhere to be. It's not rushed, but it's organized. It seems fitting that this is the place where all of Australia's most important decisions are made. Spanning just 2,358 square kilometers, the ACT is the smallest of Australia's states and territories, but it punches well above its weight as the political and administrative heart of the country. Located between Sydney and Melbourne, the ACT was strategically chosen in 1913 as a compromise location for the nation's capital to settle rivalries between the two major cities.
Alright, so we're just camping in a national park outside of Canberra this afternoon. We turned off of the main gravel road there, and it's four-wheel drive only beyond this point, so I guess this is common around here. You need a four-wheel drive vehicle to get out to your campsite. I mean, it makes sense, right? So let's see what this little trail has to offer and where we end up camping for tonight.
It feels good to be back on the dirt after spending all day in such a sterile environment. There's just something about getting a little bit of road dust circulating around in the cab again that feels freeing. So far, our Australia trip has been a good mix of on- and off-road locations. It keeps things interesting. We've noticed here that they are much more straightforward with their four-wheel drive only areas. Sometimes I feel like Canada could benefit more from this. We've definitely seen broken down cars and vans out in places where they really shouldn't have gone in the first place. We navigate the steep mountain service roads down into a deep valley where we eventually find a quiet place to call home for the night. Tomorrow we venture into another major Australian mega metropolis, if that's even a word.
Alright, so I'm just going to check our coolant levels, see what they're doing. Still got a little bit of residual spillage. Everything's the same. Warm and it's full, so that's good. We might just have a very slow slight leak coming from somewhere that like hits the exhaust manifold and just burns off immediately, or we might have a small crack in the radiator somewhere where it just drips a very small amount of fluid, or we could be burning it somewhere in the combustion chamber just very slowly. But if this reservoir isn't empty, it means we didn't suck all of our coolant dry today on our highway drive and on this trail. So, I'm happy.
And how many kilometers did we go?
I think we went about, total today, I think maybe 250?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Plus or minus. But this trail coming in was like steep up for probably 12 kilometers, just climbing. I'm not sure what mountains we're in right now, but we're in a little mountain range here, and it was some steep climbs up and then some steep descents. So taxed the car out a little bit today, and we still have coolant in the reservoir. So I'm pleased.
Case closed.
Case closed. We got back on the road on the highway all day today again. We did cross into Victoria, so that's a big milestone for us here on our Australia trip. First time in Victoria. Tomorrow, we're going to be in Melbourne, another big city here. We're kind of trying to check off some of the major hubs here on the eastern coast of Australia. We did Sydney and Brisbane, and now looking forward to spending a little bit of time in Melbourne to see what that's all about. And tomorrow we'll be in Melbourne, so yeah, let's do it.
Welcome to Melbourne, Australia's second largest city with a population of over 5 million people. It is a vibrant city known for its dynamic energy and cultural diversity. Located in the southeastern part of the country in the state of Victoria, Melbourne's position on the Port Phillip Bay has been vital to its historical development, making it a major hub for trade, migration, and cultural exchange. As we stepped into the hustle and bustle of Melbourne, it was easy to see why this is considered one of the liveliest cities in Australia. The streets buzz with life, from the sounds of passing trams to the chatter of people enjoying their local coffee. Often hailed as the coffee capital of Australia, Melbourne boasts a cafe culture that is second to none. The city is famous for its specialty coffee scene, where baristas turn brewing into an art form, and every corner seems to reveal a charming cafe. We immersed ourselves in Melbourne's character by exploring its landmarks, starting with the historic Queen Victoria Market. The market was a sensory overload of colors, smells, and flavors, offering everything from fresh produce to artisanal crafts and street food. Wandering through its lively aisles, we got a real taste of the city's multicultural influence. Later, we strolled through the Royal Botanic Gardens, a serene oasis in the heart of the city. The sprawling gardens were a stark contrast to the urban energy, with meticulously maintained landscapes, tranquil lakes, and an endless variety of native and exotic plants. Our journey continued with a visit to the State Library of Victoria, an architectural masterpiece and cultural landmark. Melbourne is also famous for being the epicenter of Australia's creative industries, with arts, music, and film playing significant roles in the city's identity. However, its biggest industry remains financial services, which drives most of its economic activity. Melbourne offered us a perfect mix of excitement and exploration, making it an unforgettable stop in our journey through Australia.
All right, everyone. So that was our experience in Melbourne. Hope you enjoyed coming along with us through that day or two there. Melbourne is a pretty cool city. Didn't spend much time down by the water, but we got to see some of the botanic gardens, some of the city streets. We got some coffees and got to see the library and do some cool stuff, do some walking around, see a ton of different people doing all these different things, and it's just a very lively place. It's a very busy place, just full of life. So yeah, Melbourne's an awesome city. Now we are going to make our way over to the Great Ocean Road. So that is next on our to-do list. Here is the Great Ocean Road. There's a lot of stops along the way, a lot to do, a lot to check out and see. First stop will be Bells Beach. Apparently Torquay is a big surf town, lots of surfing competitions here. Bells Beach is right outside Torquay. So, from what I've heard, this is a big surfing beach. That's kind of all I know. I think it's going to be a pretty spectacular beach. Hayes.
Aww. Hi, Hayes.
Okay, so we are at the Memorial Arch on the Great Ocean Road here. Hold on, there are people staring at me and I don't like it, so I'm gonna wait because... Okay, we are at the Memorial Arch on the Great Ocean Road here behind me. This memorial is actually a World War I memorial to commemorate the Australians who served in the Great War. It's very interesting actually reading the plaques and reading the history around here. There is a lot of history. They needed a way to help get these people back into society after they were soldiers in the war. So they employed these people to build this road, and they gave them great pay, good accommodations. They connected all of the coastal towns here, and it was a small win after World War I for these people.
And it's just great to see and read all the history about this place. I mean, we've eaten a lot of local food in Australia so far, but today we're gonna try some Vegemite, obviously. Put this on a little bit of bread and see what this is. Let's see what it smells like. Ooh, it smells like it would be a bit bitter, maybe? I think this is how you do it. I think you just put this on some bread. Is that enough? I don't know. That seems like a lot. Okay, Vegemite. Ooh, it's like, it's not bad. It's quite salty and like bitter. It's a very strong flavor.
I'm scared.
You gotta eat the big piece.
I'm good.
We're waiting in suspense.
I would not say that that's my favorite.
Eat the big piece.
No.
Do it.
No, I'm good, thanks. That's too much for me.
She doesn't like it. It definitely feels rainforesty in this area. Lots of huge ferns. I think ferns are one of my favorite plants ever, and like these are the biggest ferns I've seen anywhere, ever, in my whole life. Biggest ferns. Love them. The weather didn't cooperate with us today while exploring the Great Ocean Road, but we didn't let that stop us from getting out and having some fun. If you enjoy our videos, please consider subscribing to the channel and supporting us on Patreon for the price of a cup of coffee. Join us in the next episode where things get interesting trying to assist a stranded traveler and their van and finish the Great Ocean Road visiting more of its historical sites. After that, we're into Adelaide and then into the outback of Australia.